Joining here live, welcome. Today's webinar topic, 10 Business Central setup tweaks that will make a world of difference with Todd and Janelle. Looking forward to hearing about this. I'm always looking forward to some good setup and tips and stuff, guys. So thanks again for being willing to share. Wanted to point out here in a few introductory slides. First of all, anybody that's interested in a topic and you want to even give a topic, if you're a subject matter expert, even if you have a topic that you'd like to hear somebody present, I'll get to in a minute. But I'm on the webinar committee. My name is Blaine Pennybacker, by the way, in terms of introduction. But we're always looking for folks to both give a topic and present it like Todd and Janelle are today, as well as any topics you got that of interest. We can throw that out to the user group and see if somebody wants to present it. So anyway, if you get to the next slide, feel free to contact me. This is your board for 2026, the user group board, headed up by Meenakshi and Chris, and you see me, and in the middle there, David. Next slide, we'll dig into that a little deeper, but that's the two of us. We're your webinar committee, so either one of us, if you want to touch base through learners, through the Dynamics community site. I used to have my LinkedIn, I should get that back on here. I have my LinkedIn QR code, but if you want to message me through LinkedIn, connect up, feel free. Any way you want to get smoke signals, I don't care. You can let us know if you're interested in presenting. All right, next slide. We've got a few more on the docket coming up. Of course, today's is May's. June, we have Julie Bolton giving manufacturing tips. And July, Telka Clem giving Bean Counting 101, which should be interesting. And we have a couple that we're working on for August and September. Look forward, look for that soon. We'll get those ironed out here and posted in the near future. All right, next slide. And we have road shows. So if you haven't participated in those yet, they're really cool. Many networking and learning opportunities. You see Charlotte and Pittsburgh and Cleveland coming up in June, and then Toronto, Minneapolis. There you go. Janelle and Todd out your direction. Coming up in August, and then you see going from there. So yeah, good opportunity. Love those road shows. User group meetings, we have the national ones. Just go one back if you would there, Todd. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have the national. These are good learning opportunities, but also just to get an update from the board as well. So tomorrow we have a couple topics as you see there, and then you see the dates for June and July. So you can go into learners. You'll see those events in learners, and you can sign up for them. I encourage you to do so. The topics are usually really good, just like these webinars here, as well as, like I said, you get an update from the board as well. All right, last slide for me coming up here, Todd. So if you haven't signed up yet, it's coming fast. So October is going to be here in no time. Don't forget about Summit coming up in Nashville this year. So another Gaylord opportunity. I thought Orlando's was pretty cool. I've never been to the Nashville one, so looking forward to that. Again, huge networking opportunity, lots and lots of learning. Totally always encourage anybody and everybody involved with the Dynamics community to sign up and go to these. So, all right, well, Todd and Janelle, awesome. Looking forward to this. I'll turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll introduce myself first, and then Janelle can go. First, I'm going to apologize. I've got a nasty cold, and I might lose my voice partway through this, but we'll see if we can make it through. I'm Todd Fremming. I've been a functional consultant for about 25 years in GP and Business Central since it first came out. I never really worked in NAV, but I did start in Business Central when we first came out. And I've been doing this for quite a while, and generally focus on inventory, distribution, manufacturing in my day-to-day work. And I'm also working a lot more in our marketing area now. How about you, Janelle?
Yeah, I'm Janelle Riley of Savantis Technologies also, and I'm the CEO of Savantis, but I'm also a CPA. So I work a lot on the finance side of things. And like Todd, I've been working with Microsoft ERPs for over 26 years and Business Central for about 9 years. So work in both of them. And I've done some nav work as well. So.
And then make a note or snip this out, but you'll want my email address. We have a spreadsheet that we do some T account work on, and all you accountants are going to love that, where we go over posting groups and recommended posting group settings. So take a snip of my email address quick so you can email me if you want a copy of that. We'd be happy to just send it over to you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get started. What are we going to learn today? We're going to go over the best practices for setup of general ledger, sales and receivables, purchases and payables, and inventory, and try and get you some information that will help you improve how your BC setup is in just a few clicks. And most of these are some are common, some you might not know about. If you've been in BC for a short time, you might not have set it up this way. But we want to give you something that you can look at and compare it to what you already are using, so you can make some changes if you want to. We'd also, we're going to put the posting group spreadsheet that we're going to go over here, and we're going to have that available to you. It does really help prove out your distributions. It's a pretty easy way to do it. And some people just like it because the T accounts are in a spreadsheet and it's easy to follow. So we'll go through that at the end, and we should have time for all of this. So the order we'll do this is we'll start with general ledger setup. I think Janelle's going to do that, and we'll kind of tag team through these, and I'll do sales and receivables, and she'll do purchase and payables. I'll do inventory, and then we'll kind of fill you in on the posting group setup when we go through that.
Mm-hmm.
So to get started, we're going to go with general ledger setup first.
Yeah, so what we have here is we've highlighted the screens, the setup screens, to show you what are some things that we notice that people frequently miss, and see if that will help you in your planning for your general ledger setup. So if you go to search for general ledger setup, this is what the screen is going to look like. I'm going to work through the highlighted items in green. First one is check GL account deletion after. We usually recommend putting the beginning of computer time, which is 1/1900, and just so that as a control for the system to make sure that transactions don't get accidentally deleted. Now, this setting only works if block deletion of GL accounts is set to no. We do it as a control just to be safe, but we definitely want you to block the deletion of GL accounts because it can happen if you don't have that turned on. So that one's really important control. And the other one, the second one, is a good control, check GL account usage, because what that one does is if somebody goes to delete a GL account, but it's actually in a setup table somewhere, like maybe it's in a posting group somewhere, it won't let you delete it. It'll give you an error message, and then you've got to go find where that account is in setup, and then you can go ahead and delete it after that. So that one's a really good control as well. Another handy one is show amounts. You'll notice I have that as all amounts. You do have an option of debit, credit, or amount only, or both, or all amounts. I always say all amounts because what that does is it gives your finance users the opportunity to add either the debit, when you're doing a general ledger entry, general journal entry, to either have the debit and credit column visible with personalization, or the amount column visible with personalization, or all three of those columns. So so that one's really handy for them, because some finance people like to enter with debits and credits, and some like to use the amount, positive and negatives, and you like to give them the options. And then the last one is posting preview type. And posting preview type is one that came in, it's been a little while, a few years now, but extended. I definitely recommend that you click extended for that. And I'll quickly share my screen and show you what that looks like. Let's hope I get it right. Let's see here. All right, so you should be able to see Cathedral Hill right now. This is a sample company. So I've got a sales order here, and I want to do a preview post on it. And so when I do the preview post on that, it's going to go ahead and pop up. What extended does is give you this little toggle here, which, if you remember, for those of you who use Business Central all the time, there's like a bazillion things that show up when you're going ahead, a bazillion accounts that are listed in the same account over and over and over. If you put in hierarchical view, what it's going to do is collapse it all down, and I'll show you that. So that now, once I've collapsed it all, now I can see, okay, here's what happened. Inventory got hit by $200, sales got hit by $844, cost of goods sold got hit by $206. So that's that's something that'll be helpful for you. Todd, I'm going to stop sharing. You can jump back in.
Okay, now we're going to cover sales and receivable setup. Oh, actually, for the GL accounts, for one thing on that, let me share something else here. Actually, I want to do that first. I got to stop sharing to share again. I want to show you one other thing on that. This is a really good time to have this session. When you're getting their new releases out, like we got version 28 out or 28.1 coming out pretty soon, right? And you've got your sandbox set up to do testing. To make sure that everything's working for you before you move that new release live. One thing that we usually would recommend people do is, excuse me, is go and compare the settings in your production company to your settings in the sandbox company, and you'll find those things that have been added when you do it. And just an example of that, I didn't really see anything when I went through and verified the differences between the current version and this one. I didn't see a lot of changes. But there's things that you can read about, but when you see them, you can now in reporting in GL set your default view by day, month, year, whatever period that you want. You have an option to change your negative format number of minus to parentheses if you want, and you can add a logo to your financial reports now, and you can put it in the center, left, or right. This doesn't appear in the old versions, so you'll see those changes. So whenever you do that testing, it's great that everything works when you test it, but make sure you go that one extra step and compare those settings and see what they've added or taken away. Even sometimes they take things away too. So you've got to watch that, and you might find something that you can use there. So let's go to sales and receivable setup. I'll share my screen again here.
Hey, Todd, I didn't ask you if there's questions in the chat, do you want them as you go along, or do you want to wait till the end?
Oh, either way. Maybe we stop at each section. So were there any GL questions?
There's one out there right now from Leslie. Says, if we have block deletion of GL accounts enabled and no date in check GL account deletion after, what is the behavior?
Yeah, good question. Actually, what it'll do in that scenario is it'll actually work. The important one is the block deletion of GL accounts. You've got to have that one on, right? So that's the important one. We put a date in just in case someone accidentally turns that off. At least then it has a date as a backup, right? So I always try to have more caution when it comes to controls than less, and so that's what'll happen. So you're good if you've got that marked on. You're good.
So we'll stop at the end of each section here, and we can just ask questions if you've got any. So just pop them into the chat, and we'll cover them as we go. So sales and receivable setup. I'll just point out the highlighted ones here as well. The default item quantity. This one we kind of argue about sometimes. This one and the default item quantities in payables, but what it does is if you have a default item quantity, it's going to go in and put a 1 in there, right? And you may or may not want that because things can get entered incorrectly. So we usually recommend you try it with default item quantity off first, so that people have to enter the quantities that they need to use, right? It's a good inventory control, and it does happen. So yeah, you will eliminate things. And if you haven't used BC for a long time yet, having that off, people just get trained to do it the right way. The default GL quantity, however, is going to always be on, because that's going to put a 1 in on your transactions for GL entries only, right? And that makes a lot of sense to just have that be 1, because you're not going to do multiple quantities on a GL account. That said, this is something that was older in NAV, that people used to put GL accounts on their sales lines. We don't recommend doing that. This might be left over a little bit from that, because there's not a lot of sales transactions where you need to use a GL account. You may not want to have that on. I'm sorry, thinking of something else. You may want to determine whether or not you should be putting GL accounts in there. It's much better as a practice, instead of putting a freight account in on a sales line, to put a freight non-inventory line item and have it pulled from the posting groups. It's just a lot more accurate. People can't make mistakes, and you don't want people putting GL accounts on your transactions and posting them if they're incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, if you think about it, like you don't want you don't want users who are entering sales transactions to have to know what a GL account number is, right? They shouldn't have to do that. And so if you set up that non-inventory item and you put the posting group on it to hit the right account and it's just freight, they can just select freight. It's a lot easier for them than selecting a GL account and having to know account, 50202 is freight. Yeah.
And if you ever change that freight account, you don't have to retrain. They just still keep using freight. You change the account on the back end and no one knows, right?
Yeah.
You won't have some people doing it one way and some people doing it another way during that
Mm.
crossover period. So default posting date, we always set to the work date. Default quantity to ship. This is one we argue about too. Sometimes, it depends on your processes, but you kind of want those default quantities to be blank so people have to enter the actual quantity that they're going to ship. It's real easy to just accept what's there and ship it out, and then your inventory's off, right? Auto post non-inventory via warehouse. This is kind of nice if you do warehouse receipts. You could put a freight line on a warehouse receipt and it'll post automatically with that warehouse receipt, and finance doesn't have to go on the back end and add freight when they're entering the invoice that you receive, when they're entering an invoice. So it is nice to have that as an option. The document default line type, if you use inventory, it should be item. If you don't use inventory, and most people are using inventory of some type, if you're just doing GL entries and you're not really using items, you can have that be something else. But we recommend you just leave it as item. It'll pop in. People won't have to select that every time they do a transaction. And then the link document date to posting date. You'll see this one in payables as well. You may need to rearrange your header on your document so that your posting date is above your document date. Usually it's the other way around by default, because if you enter the posting date, the document date will automatically fill in with the same date. You don't have to do both lines. It's just a little thing that speeds things up, automatically fills it for you. Any questions on sales?
Don't see anything in chat yet, Todd.
Okay. All right. And I'm assuming they'll be able to get a recording of this or get this presentation. Again, if you want this, we'll send it to you. It's got what we're saying written out here as well.
Yep.
So purchases and payables setup.
Purchases and payables setup is actually just a mirror image of sales and receivables setup. So it's actually kind of easy to go through. The first thing is default GL account quantity. That one you definitely want to put a 1 in there, or you want it to put yes. And what it'll do when you turn that on is it's going to default to 1. Why? Because your AP people are entering these things all day, and you don't want them to have to enter a quantity 1 for every single phone bill, utility bill, miscellaneous AP transaction. So it'll autofill for them. So that'll save them clicks. I always try to tell people every click costs you money. It costs you money because it costs time, but also it costs you because it's irritating when people have to repeatedly enter extra keystrokes that they don't need to. So it's also not good for the employees either, or the users either. So default posting date, same as Todd said, always recommend work date, because if you do no date, then every time you go in, you got to enter a date, which again, more clicks, more money, more frustration for the users. Default quantity to receive, that one, mirror image of quantity to ship, which was what Todd talked about, and receivables, which is you want to go ahead and leave that blank, because when you got guys out in the warehouse and they're receiving, you don't want them to just accept what was on the actual purchase order. You want them to have to enter the quantity that was actually received. Occasionally, for certain types of companies, for example, we have some clients that specialize in software, sales of software, subscriptions for software. They're the default. They may actually just have it default to remainder because they literally don't physically receive inventory. They don't physically have people in a warehouse. So whatever is on the purchase order is what they're going to go ahead and work with anyway. So just so you know that. Let's see. Default document line type for most companies, for companies that are using purchase orders, you default that to item if you're using POs. However, if you're a company that doesn't have inventory, such as my description of like a software company that doesn't actually have inventory, you would switch that to GL, because then you're doing almost all GL lines on your AP transactions, and it'll save them the trouble from having to switch from item to GL. And then the last one is linking document date to posting date. Again, opposite of receivables. You do want to link those if you can. In general, the document date should equal your posting date. They should be the same date for AP, actually for sales, but also for purchases. The reason that they should be the same date is because the document date that's on that purchase invoice, that document date is your subledger, and it's going to be the date that's on your aged AP, or on the sales side on your aged AR, and you want that to equal your posting date on your GL. Otherwise, you have a mismatch between your subledger and your general ledger. The only exception to that is, of course, when you're already closed a month and you have to put a document date that's in the prior month, but you don't want to hit the GL, so you put it in the current month. So I think that's it for AP. Any questions
any chat
on
questions
that?
on that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So inventory setup. Just
Oh,
a
hey,
couple
Todd,
interesting. Yep.
one quick thing. Sorry. Archiving. I didn't mention that. We didn't
Oh
mention
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
archiving. To make these screens visible to you guys on the slide, we took all the archiving setup settings off. There's a lot of them in each section. Those should all be turned on. Just turn them all on. Don't question it. Just turn them on. Doesn't cause any overhead in data or anything like that. When you decide you want to start using those for something, they'll be on, and they'll have been on for a long time. So always turn those on when you have archiving. There's a number of setup ones. If you go look at your screen, you'll see them. If they aren't on, turn them on. Doesn't hurt anything at all. Oh, we got a question.
Oh, yeah. Default line type. If we have half business, let's see, have half business as fixed assets and half as item. Is there a way to link the default responsibility center or something else that makes the default based on user? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that one. Do you, Todd? I don't work with responsibility centers very often.
No, I'm not sure.
You might be able to, though. We might want to look that one up, Aaron, and get back to you on that one. So, Todd, we should just make a note of that.
Can you email me, Aaron, and then I'll follow up on that and see if we can check somebody that does their fixed assets a lot and have them look at it.
Yep. And then the second one is, isn't the due date of a payable based on the document date? Yes, right. Wouldn't this cause? Okay, so what I'm saying, Linda, maybe I didn't explain that well enough. Okay, so let's take a scenario where you're in AP, entering an AP transaction, and it's not a month-end scenario. So let's take the month-end scenario out of it. The document date should be the date that of the vendor invoice, right? Because that will drive the due date of when you have to pay that vendor invoice. That should be the same date as the posting date. So you set the document date for the date of the vendor invoice. The posting date should be the same date. Because again, you're entering a vendor, like let's say it's a plain old AP invoice. That is the date that you want to post to the GL, because that's the date that expense should be hitting the GL. Now, if you have a scenario where it's month end, you've just passed month end, let's say we're in May, you've closed April, but now you get some random vendor invoice that just came in for dated April 20th. The document date will be April 20th. The posting date will be May, right? May 1st, probably. So you will have a discrepancy on, but only in that one scenario when you're spanning a month end. Otherwise, you should hardly ever have a difference. So hopefully I answered that.
Okay. Okay, great. So let's just move on here. Some things for inventory setup. We've done a lot of testing on this over time, and this has changed since they first started doing BC. We recommend that you turn on automatic cost posting, expected cost posting, and have always selected for automatic cost adjustments. This will maintain your cost correctly in Business Central. I don't think since we started setting things up this way, we've had anybody where their subledger didn't agree based on a costing issue, that didn't agree with their balance sheet. So highly recommend you start with this. This is a big one though. If you don't have these selected or have something different, do not change it in the live company. You will have a mess.
Yes.
So it's one of those timing things where if you're going to do it, you have to do it at a set point in time so things start working the same way at that point. You don't have to run any utilities at the end of the month. You don't have to do anything. Your costing should just be handled. Do you have something to add on that, Janelle? She's probably seen the worst of this.
Yeah, I've seen people make the change without testing it first, and it is ugly. So that's not these are not things you take lightly when you're talking about costing. Yeah.
Right. Prevent negative inventory. We always turn that on. And I know there's reasons why people need to go negative on inventory. And when we were in Dynamics GP for a long time, and we still have clients that are using it, And yeah, sometimes that's the answer in Dynamics GP, but it shouldn't be the answer in Business Central. You have an opportunity to have it right. So prevent negative inventory when you use it.
You know, we do have people bring that up and say, yeah, but I have this scenario. I'm trying to give Todd a break on his throat.
Yeah. I know. I've been getting water every time she says something. I go, great, I could get some water.
Trying to save him. So prevent negative inventory. We have a lot of people who say, oh, no, I have to have negative inventory because of X, Y, Z, right? There's always a reason for it. And it's always a legitimate reason. But the truth is, I don't think I've ever had a scenario where I haven't been able to figure it out. Okay. So I just need to let you know that maybe that's something to talk to your partner about. And then Aaron has a message related to bins. Yes, you cannot use negative inventory with bins.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
still toggle it to yes.
Yep.
Great
Exactly.
question. Yeah.
Yep. Location mandatory. This one kind of throws some people because you only have one location. Why would I need it to be mandatory? It's the same all the time. This comes in handy. If you turn it on and you have one location, you will not notice a difference. Your location will fill in. You have to have a location set up to fill in automatically, but no overhead, no extra clicking. But when you do end up adding a warehouse or deciding to use locations, everything is set up and ready to go, and you can just add locations on the fly. It just makes it that much simpler. Okay.
Yep. Linda has a question on automatic cost adjustment. Does it cause the systems to slow down? Yes, it does. However, it's rare, extremely rare. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, don't do that because it'll cause your system to slow down. It will, but only in very rare situations. We have a client that does 10,000 transactions a day, 10,000 sales a day, and they have automatic cost adjustment on. Okay. So you have to be doing a lot to cause a problem. Now I have another one that does more than that, and they do have a slowness issue, but they're also on-prem. So the client that's not having the issue is doing it in the cloud. So just be aware of that, whether you're on-prem or cloud. And I think the one that's on-prem doesn't have enough resources to be able to handle it. So yes, it can, but don't let it scare you because, the worst case with automatic cost adjustment is that you turn it on, you test it, it works, and then you start to feel like it's slower and you can just turn it off and change your mind. So you have it set today because of performance concern instead of always. Is that, yeah, that's fine. The only thing is it's only going to do it once a day. And you probably have a job running to run it daily then is my guess. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Hi, Tina.
We know Tina. Yeah.
All right. So the last one I have on here, and I have this turned off right now. I have it turned on what I'm going to show you. I want to show you what this does. One of those things you notice when there's a release change. I'm like, oh, when did they do that? Well, what this does when you turn it on, I'm going to stop sharing and put my other screen back up again. I'm just going to pick any item. This one's a little scary for people too. It adds these 3 dots here, the ellipses here that you can click on. And if I go, oh, well, I really have 1,000 of these, I can change the quantity, hit OK, and it'll actually post the item journal for me automatically, and I've got more in inventory. Easy, quick way to change your inventory. Doesn't work for serials and lots. If you do serials and lots, what it's going to do is give you the same error you get when you don't remember to assign a lot number or a serial number to a line, but there's no line to go fix it, so you just can't do it. But it is pretty nice. I mean, it's really nice when you're doing testing especially, right? If you're in a test company or in a sandbox and you want to add inventory to be able to do some massive testing and everything, it's really nice to have it there. So we like it. Probably have some permissions you can use to maybe have one person have access to it, but not everybody. And you'd have to do something with permissions to get that to be that way. Generally, I'd recommend though, leave it off until you really need it. And make sure that when you do it, you only give access to the people that can do it, because if people find a lazy way to fix inventory, they're going to do it, right? It's just the way we are. So
and especially if you have it going to like not a reserve account, you have your adjustments not going to an inventory reserve account, but have it going to a cost of goods sold. You can have your finance people go in and go, what just happened? I have like buckets of write-offs, and like you had no control over it. So yeah, that one's scary. Yeah.
So that's inventory. Let's hit posting groups. You're going to share yours on that one?
Yeah, I can do that. Give you a little break there. So do you want to stop sharing, Todd?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll share now, and let's see what I got here. I'm going to go ahead. All right. So we have a spreadsheet that you can have a copy of this spreadsheet, okay? And I think you'll find it helpful. So Todd, if you email todd.fremming@savannas.com, he will send this to you. The cool thing about it is if you put your GL accounts in the top of here, in this top section, like your vendor posting group, your AP account is 21,000, right? It's going to feed down below, and it will actually run everything through debits and credits and then the T accounts, which is super awesome because you can do a bunch of testing with it. So we give this to our clients. We usually fill it out for them when we set up their posting groups so that they can understand, so that they can understand where things are going. But what I want to do is just kind of do a quick primer on posting groups and then explain how this works, and then you can have a copy of it. So quick primer on posting groups. First of all, the main posting groups that are related to balance sheet accounts is the way I like to think of it. Bank accounts, customers, which would be AR, AP, which is vendors, inventory account. Those customer posting group, bank account posting group, vendor posting group, and inventory posting group, those are all posting groups that that tell kind of which balance sheet accounts things are supposed to go to. So for example, a customer posting group will tell you which receivables account it's going to hit. The vendor posting group will say which payables account is going to get hit. The inventory posting group will say which inventory account is going to get hit. So that gives you that balance sheet side. Now, on the rest of the transactional piece of it, that all comes from the general product posting groups. So for the general product posting groups, the setup for that would be in this area. And you'll notice, for those of you who have done posting groups, these columns here are actually exactly what it says at the top of, if you search for general posting setup, those will be the columns that are at the top of your posting groups. We put some samples in here so you could see how it would work. The account numbers that are in here are off of the Cronus test company. So you can work on it in the test company for Cronus, or you can put your own in there and then test how the debits and credits roll all the way through it. I'm going to do a quick background. Oh, were you going to say something?
Yeah, and I think it's important you notice how, we use this as a default, basically, like in the inventory posting groups. They're the same account.
Yeah,
right?
Good point. Yeah.
It's not, you don't have to have a separate account because it's a different field. When you test this out, you find out that things wash. And that sample Janelle showed at the beginning with the GL accounts, where it had inventory until she, collapsed it down and had one number. The inventory account got hit like 6 or 7 times, right?
Yeah.
So yes, you can have a separate account, but you don't need a separate account. It can all wash. And once you trust that it's washing through and working the way you want, and you're only getting hit for that total at the end, then you'll start trusting it and believe that that works.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. A lot of people do put a separate account in there. There are some limited reasons to do it, but you know what? Honestly, it's rare. If you just want to simplify things and not have buckets of accounts that are rolling back and forth, it makes it a lot easier to just use the same inventory interim account. And we can show you here below some of our thoughts on it. Let's just do an example if it's an inventory related transaction. General product posting group, your sales account is going to be your account that's going to get hit on any sales transaction. It's the sales accounts that's going to hit. Your credit memo is where the credit memo is going to go. That one, you could have potentially a separate account if you want your credit memos to go to a different GL account. That's pretty rare. We have very few clients that actually do that. Prepayments, that is the account that gets hit. That's your customer deposit if you have a customer prepayment. This interesting, the purchase account, purchases credit memo account, and then actually I'm going to also the direct cost applied account. Those 3 accounts, many people set those up as like a cost of goods sold account. There's nothing wrong with that. It works. The important thing is that all 3 of those accounts be the same account because they'll all wash against each other. You can do different things. But if you're just trying to simplify things and be able to roll up and see what's happening in your GL really easily, this is a simple way to do it. I have a theoretical reason that I use an inventory or a balance sheet account on these. I use a balance sheet account because frankly, I'm a CPA. I don't like stuff just ramming through my P&L. I don't like it at all. I know that our accountants review every balance sheet account in detail every month end. And if something wonky is happening in the balance sheet, that's going to jump out. They're going to see it. P&L, you don't really look at what's rolling through cost of goods sold very often. So if something random is happening, you're not going to recognize it in a cost of goods sold account. So that's why we frequently put an inventory account there. Purchase prepayments, though, that'll be definitely an asset account because that's when you do a prepayment on a purchase order. Cost of goods sold is self-explanatory. That's your cost of goods sold account. Cost of goods sold interim. That one, a lot of people don't use it or don't realize it's there. What that is basically the opposite of received, not invoiced. It's on the sales side. It's shipped, not billed. I like to use those words. It's something that my warehouse shipped out this afternoon and they took it out of inventory. It goes temporarily into this account until the vendor invoice is posted. It's great to have that account as a control. Why? Because almost everybody, everything that ships in 1 month should also be invoiced in that month. Pretty much almost exclusively, you're going to see that. So it's a good control because at month end, you can look at this account 13,200 and go, there's a balance in there. That means we shipped something out, but we never invoiced the customer for it. Let's go research that and fix that. So that one's a good one. The opposite, I'm going to jump over. The opposite of that is the inventory accrual account interim. Hate the words. It means received, not invoiced. It's your accrued purchases. You received, not invoiced. Again, same thing. It's what I've received into inventory in the warehouse, but I haven't yet received the vendor invoice.
And if you use project accounting, it's just kind of a
Yes.
crossover. It's almost like it was just stuck in here because it was a good place to do it. But there's an interim unrecognized cost that if you put this account in for project accounting, it'll hit that area too.
That's a really good point. That's going to hit in project accounting when you receive something to inventory, but you haven't yet, or you received it into the project, but you haven't yet received the vendor invoice. What's weird about that, we could do a whole thing on project accounting. It's actually not, it's going to hit the GL. It's actually not going to go to the project until the vendor invoice is entered. Another story for another time. But yeah, good point, Todd. It's used for two different things, whether you're using it in project or not. The next one is inventory adjustment account. That's where you're going to go when you do write-offs. You'll notice that I have this as an inventory reserve account. Most of our clients, I recommend having two reserve accounts, one which you're doing your calculations for audit for, a second one which is a control account where you add what your anticipated costs or your anticipated write-offs per month. You do a monthly transaction to add to the reserve, and then you relieve from the reserve every time you do a write-off. And then that way, and the finance people, you can control what's happening with write-offs, and anomalies will jump out and hit you on it. I definitely would never hit a cost of goods sold account on that. I would never hit account 51,000 for that. I would hit 51,001 or something because you want to know what's being hit as write-offs. So that's kind of the big stuff. Do you want to talk about a little bit about labor? Yeah.
Sure. The direct cost applied and the overhead applied account. If you have a labor general product posting group, you may want to consider putting it in the same range as your salaries expense. And I just picked 60,000 just as an example here, because it's a contra account to your salaries expense. It takes that money out of salaries expense and accrues it to a labor where you can keep track of how much labor is being spent to do shipping or whatever you need it to do. Again, some people put it into a labor cost of goods sold account, which is fine too, because they want to track all their cost of goods sold labor, but it really is just an offset to your salaries expense. So you'll want to play around with that one for sure before you try and do it, just to make sure that it's set up and working right. The other thing we have down here is a little sample. Janelle, do you have anything else to add on those?
No, that's great. And
Okay.
and I'll stop sharing in a minute so I can answer questions. So
Okay.
yeah.
So we've got a sample here where we can you'll figure this out. You can see it's color coded for each transaction type. You put the amounts in. It's just a total of what's in here. You can actually track through on a T account and prove out to yourself that all your GL accounts are working. And like I mentioned before, there's 13,000 is hit here a lot, right? and it eventually clears itself out. The thing that you really want to know about is which posting group did that actually come from, right? And it took a lot of time. You have to change the account, run a transaction, change the account, run a transaction to figure out where it's actually pulling that number from. Use this as a sample. Some people just use this because they like the T accounts in a spreadsheet. So again, send me an email. We'll send it out to you, and you can do what you want with it. Share it with people and use it if you need it.
Yeah. And just for your information, Todd, what he's pointing at is inventory posting group. Just above there, there's a key, but IPG means inventory posting group. So that's where that's coming from. GPPG is where general product posting group, where that's where that number is coming from. So you can see the source of all of those posting groups. Yeah. And all those numbers that you've got in there. Yeah. Cool. I'm going to stop
your screen
sharing.
again? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to stop sharing here. Yep. And then see, nope, just got Tina's, that's the last message. Does anybody have any questions? Cool.
Just something just to think about here is always test it before you make a change. Some things seem simple. It's
I got it.
Janelle, you want to just type it in
Yep.
there? Don't assume that what you're doing is a minor adjustment, right? It seems like I could just click this on, but you click on that inventory button and then people can make changes to inventory. You got to really know what you're doing when you do it. Don't just make a change because it looks like it's going to work well for you. We also recommend turn on change logs for configuration settings. If you don't know how to do it, your partner can help you with it. Makes it a lot easier to troubleshoot issues caused by inadvertent or errant changes. You don't turn them on for everything, just turn them on for the things that you need, because that does add overhead and probably will slow things down over time. And then remember, every environment is different, right? You're doing different things than we do. Everybody here has got different setup. Not one base setup works for everybody, but a base setup gets you started if you're just starting out and trying it. And if you want to try something new, you have something to start with and you can make adjustments to it from there.
Perfect. You survived, Todd.
Yeah, I made it. I'm not going to talk the rest of the day. Everybody in the office is going to love me today.
Yeah, because he talks really loud, like everyone can hear him. Okay. So I guess that's it. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, everybody. If you have any questions, you can reach Todd at todd.frimming@savannahs.com or janelle.riley@savannahs.com. So
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Blaine, do you need anything at the end here?
No, that was great stuff. I know I made a couple changes already, so thank you. That was great stuff. All right, see you guys later.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.